What happens when a light-hearted daytime debate suddenly turns personal, and a usually calm comedian decides he's had enough? Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. Joy Behar leans back in her chair with that familiar half-smile, papers loosely stacked in front of her. The audience is relaxed, some light applause still fading after the introduction. Kumail Nanjiani sits across from the panel, posture open, smiling politely, hands folded in his lap. He's been joking with the hosts for a few minutes now, talking about his latest project, cracking a line about how his parents still don't quite understand what he does for a living. Joy tilts her head. You know, Kumail, I watched your movie last night. I did. And I kept thinking, it's interesting how Hollywood keeps pushing these stories about identity and culture. Sometimes it feels like it's more about making a point than telling a story. There's a slight shift in the room. Whoopi glances sideways. Sunny raises her eyebrows just a touch. The audience murmurs softly, not loud but present. Kumail nods slowly, still smiling. Well, I think for a lot of us, our identity is the story. It's not really something we can separate. Joy shrugs. Sure, but don't you ever worry that it alienates people? Like regular viewers at home who just want to be entertained, not lectured. A few audience members clap. Others stay quiet. Kumail chuckles lightly, trying to keep the tone easy. I don't think talking about who you are is a lecture. It's just honest. Joy presses on. But honesty can feel preachy, right? Especially when comedians start telling people what they should think. Whoopi jumps in quickly. Hold on, Joy, I don't think he's... Joy waves her hand. No, I'm just asking. I'm curious. Kumail's smile tightens. He adjusts slightly in his seat. I don't think I'm telling anyone what to think. I'm sharing my experience. If someone doesn't relate, that's okay. Sunny leans forward. But Joy's point, I think, is about balance. Entertainment versus messaging. Kumail nods again. I get that. But for some of us, just existing on screen is considered messaging. There's a ripple of applause, louder this time. Joy frowns slightly. I don't think that's fair. Nobody's saying you shouldn't exist on screen. Kumail looks at her directly now. A lot of people do say that. Maybe not in those words, but... Joy cuts in. Come on, Kumail, Hollywood loves you. You're successful. You're celebrated. The audience reacts with a few oohs. Kumail exhales through his nose. That doesn't mean the conversation is over. Whoopi raises her hand. Okay, let's... Joy keeps going. Sometimes it feels like comedians today are so sensitive. Any criticism, and suddenly it's about oppression. The room tightens. Sunny glances at Whoopi. Alyssa shifts in her chair. Kumail's smile is gone now. His voice stays calm but firmer. I don't think it's sensitivity. I think it's accountability. Joy scoffs lightly. Accountability for jokes? For assumptions, Kumail replies. For framing stories as too much, just because they're not about you. The audience claps again, some louder than before. Joy leans forward. That's not what I said. Kumail meets her gaze. It's how it sounds. There's a beat of silence. You can hear someone cough in the audience. Whoopi jumps in, voice steady. Let's slow this down. Joy, I think what he's saying is... Joy interrupts. No, I understand what he's saying. I just don't agree with it. Sunny nods. And disagreement is okay. Joy turns back to Kumail. But don't you think sometimes comedians hide behind identity to avoid criticism? The audience murmurs again, louder now. Kumail sits up straighter. No, I think sometimes critics hide behind, just asking questions to avoid responsibility. A sharp reaction from the crowd, applause mixed with gasps. Joy's eyes widen slightly. That's a bit unfair. Kumail doesn't look away. It feels unfair when you're on the receiving end too. Whoopi raises both hands now. All right. Joy laughs, but there's an edge to it. So now I'm the villain for asking a question? Kumail's jaw tightens. No one said villain, but intent doesn't erase impact. The audience reacts audibly, a wave of sounds. Sunny nods. That's true. Joy shakes her head. I just think we're losing the ability to joke about anything. Kumail responds quickly, faster than before. No, we're losing patience for jokes that punch down. That lands hard. Applause breaks out, sustained this time. Joy throws her hands up slightly. So now I punch down? Whoopi interjects, firm. Joy. Joy turns to Whoopi. No, let him answer. Kumail pauses, choosing his words. The room is quiet. I'm saying that when you question whether stories like mine belong, it feels like being told to stay in your lane. Joy's voice sharpens. I didn't say you don't belong. But that's how it comes across, Kumail says, his tone no longer light at all. And I'm tired of pretending it doesn't. The audience is fully engaged now. Some clap. Some sit stone still. Sunny leans in. This is clearly hitting something deeper. Kumail nods once. Because it is deeper. This isn't just about a movie. It's about who gets to be seen without justification. Joy exhales, crossing her arms. I think you're reading too much into it. Kumail's voice rises just slightly. And I think you're not reading enough. There's a loud reaction from the audience, a mix of applause and shocked laughter. Whoopi cuts in decisively. Okay, we're going to take a breath here. Joy shakes her head, still looking at Kumail. I didn't expect this to turn into an accusation. Kumail responds without hesitation. I didn't expect to have to defend my existence on a morning show. The room goes silent for a split second, the kind of silence that feels heavy. Whoopi looks between them. All right, we're going to pause right there. The camera pulls back slightly as the audience buzzes, everyone aware that something has shifted, and this conversation is far from over. The silence doesn't last long. You can feel the tension vibrating through the room, that unmistakable live TV moment where everyone knows something real just happened and there's no edit button coming to save it. Whoopi clears her throat, leaning forward, palms flat on the table like she's physically grounding the conversation. All right, she says carefully. Let's all take a second. Nobody's saying anyone doesn't belong here. The audience offers a hesitant clap, more nervous than supportive. Joy exhales sharply, uncrossing her arms but not relaxing. I just think this got very dramatic very fast. Kumail nods once, but there's no smile this time. It feels dramatic when you don't experience it. Sunny turns toward him. Can you explain that a little more? Because I think viewers at home might not understand why this hit such a nerve. Kumail takes a breath, hands clasped now, knuckles slightly white. Because this conversation happens over and over again. Different room, different faces, same questions. Why tell this story? Why focus on this identity? Why now? Joy shakes her head. But that's a fair question in storytelling. Not when it's only asked of certain people, Kumail responds immediately. The audience murmurs. Someone claps. Someone else mutters, that's true. Joy leans forward again. I've asked white comedians the same thing. Kumail tilts his head. Have you asked them why their identity is in the story? Or have you just accepted it as default? There's an audible oof from somewhere in the crowd. Whoopi presses her lips together, glancing down at her notes, but not really reading them. Alyssa shifts, clearly uncomfortable, then jumps in. But isn't it possible that people are just tired of politics and entertainment? Kumail turns to her. My existence isn't politics. Applause breaks out immediately, louder than before. Joy raises her eyebrows. Nobody said it was. But that's how it's framed, Kumail replies. As something extra. Something people have to get through before they can enjoy the story. Sunny nods. I think that's an important distinction. Joy looks genuinely frustrated now. So what are we not allowed to critique anymore? Kumail's voice sharpens. You can critique the writing, the acting, the pacing, the jokes. But when the critique starts with why does this story need to exist, that's not about quality. The audience reacts again, mix of applause and uneasy shifting. Joy points lightly with her pen. I didn't say it shouldn't exist. Kumail doesn't flinch. You questioned whether it alienates people just by being what it is. Joy pauses. For a split second, she seems to search for words. Because television is about reaching people. And who are people? Kumail asks quietly. The room goes still again. Sunny jumps in softly. That's a real question. Joy sighs. The general audience. Kumail nods. I am the general audience. So are people who look like me. Applause swells, sustained. Whoopi finally speaks, voice firm but calm. This is why these conversations matter. Because everybody thinks general audience means themselves. Joy gives a short laugh. Okay, but are we saying no one can feel disconnected anymore? No, Kumail replies. We're saying that feeling disconnected doesn't mean the content is wrong. Joy leans back, arms crossing again. So if I don't relate, I'm supposed to just sit there quietly? Kumail shakes his head. No, you're supposed to recognize that not everything is made with you at the center. The audience gasps lightly at the bluntness. Joy's tone cools. That sounds exclusionary. Kumail responds instantly. That's how inclusion feels to people who are used to being centered. A loud reaction, applause, whistles, some stunned laughter. Whoopi raises her hands again. All right. Sunny looks between them. Joy, do you see why that might land differently for him? Joy hesitates. Just a second. I see that he's passionate. Kumail exhales, frustration slipping through. This isn't passion. This is exhaustion. That word changes the energy. The audience quiets. Sunny's voice softens. Exhaustion from what? From explaining over and over that my stories aren't a phase, Kumail says. That they're not a trend. That they're not a lecture. Joy frowns. No one said trend. Kumail's eyes stay locked on her. The implication is always there. Alyssa jumps in again, trying to diffuse. But do you think there's a way to have these stories without making people feel attacked? Kumail turns to her. If someone feels attacked by seeing someone else live their life on screen, that's not something the storyteller can fix. The audience reacts strongly, applause mixed with murmurs. Joy lets out a sharp breath. That feels like shutting down dialogue. Kumail's voice rises slightly. No, it's setting boundaries. Whoopi nods. Boundaries aren't censorship. Joy shakes her head. I just think comedy used to be simpler. Kumail responds quickly. Life wasn't simpler. It was just quieter for some voices. That lands hard. The audience applauds again, some people standing briefly before sitting back down. Joy looks away for the first time, tapping her pen against the desk. I don't like being painted as someone who doesn't want diverse voices. Kumail softens just a fraction. Then listen when those voices tell you how your words land. There's a pause. A long one. Sunny breaks it gently. This feels like less about a movie and more about respect. Joy nods slowly, reluctantly. I respect him. Kumail looks at her. Then respect that this conversation isn't hypothetical for me. The audience murmurs agreement. Whoopi leans in, decisive. Okay, we're clearly in something real here, and we're going to keep talking, but we need to reset just a bit. Joy looks back at Kumail. I didn't come at you personally. Kumail replies, calm but firm. It became personal when my place in the room was questioned. The audience reacts again, quieter but intense. Whoopi looks into the camera briefly, then back to the table. We're going to take a quick breath, and when we come back, we'll continue this, because clearly this isn't done yet. The tension hangs thick as the cameras linger, the audience buzzing with the knowledge that whatever comes next may push this conversation even further. The break ends, and the shift back into the conversation is almost physical. The applause that usually welcomes the return is hesitant this time, scattered, like the audience isn't sure whether clapping is appropriate or intrusive. The camera settles back on the table. Everyone's posture is different now, straighter, guarded, aware. Whoopi starts, voice measured. All right, we're back. This is obviously a conversation that struck a nerve, and we're going to continue it respectfully. Joy nods once, lips pressed together. Kumail sits still, hands folded, expression calm but firm. Sunny turns toward him. Before the break, you said something that really landed, about exhaustion. I want to go back to that. Kumail nods. Sure. Because a lot of people hear these conversations and think they're theoretical, Sunny continues. But you're saying this is lived. It is, Kumail says. It starts early. Before you're successful. Before anyone knows your name. You're always aware that you're being measured differently. Joy interjects. But isn't that true for a lot of people trying to make it in entertainment? Kumail looks at her. Yes, but not everyone has to prove that their identity isn't the problem. The audience reacts, a low hum, a few claps. Joy lifts her chin slightly. I just don't want this to turn into a situation where people are afraid to ask questions. Kumail responds evenly. I want people to ask better ones. Whoopi nods. That's fair. Joy sighs. Okay, so what would a better question be? Kumail pauses, then answers carefully. Ask what the story is saying, not why the person telling it exists. There's a quiet beat. The audience absorbs it. Sunny nods slowly. That's a meaningful distinction. Joy leans back. I still think there's a tendency now to shut down disagreement by labeling it harm. Kumail turns to her. Disagreement isn't harm. Dismissal is. That gets a strong reaction, applause, sharper this time. Joy opens her mouth, then closes it again, clearly irritated. So now I'm dismissive. Kumail doesn't raise his voice. In this moment, yes. The audience gasps audibly. Whoopi raises her eyebrows but doesn't interrupt. Joy laughs incredulously. Wow. Kumail continues, calm but unwavering. When someone tells you how something feels, and the response is, you're overreacting, that's dismissal. Joy points at him. I didn't say overreacting. You said dramatic, Kumail replies instantly. The audience reacts, A wave of murmurs and claps. Joy shakes her head. This feels like semantics. It isn't, Kumail says. Words shape the room. Sunny jumps in. They really do. Joy looks around the table, then at the audience. So what's the solution? Nobody challenges anything anymore. Kumail exhales slowly. Challenge ideas. Not belonging. The audience applauds again, some nodding vigorously. Alyssa speaks up cautiously. Do you think there's space for humor in this conversation? Or has it all become too serious? Kumail glances at her, then smiles faintly for the first time in a while. Humor survives honesty. It doesn't survive dismissal. A ripple of laughter and applause. Joy shakes her head, but there's a crack in her certainty now. I've been doing this show a long time. I know, Kumail says. That's why this matters. Joy narrows her eyes. What's that supposed to mean? It means you set the tone, Kumail replies. People listen to you. The audience reacts, quiet but intense. Joy folds her hands together. So now I'm responsible for how everyone interprets my words. Kumail nods. We all are, especially on live television. Whoopi finally steps in more firmly. That's true. This show reaches millions. Joy turns to Whoopi. So I can't express concern anymore? Whoopi responds calmly. You can, but concern isn't the same as doubt about someone's right to tell their story. Joy exhales sharply. You keep saying right. I never questioned his right. Kumail's tone hardens slightly. You question the necessity. The audience gasps again. Joy looks genuinely frustrated now. Everything doesn't have to be necessary. For marginalized voices, Kumail says, it's always framed that way. Sunny nods. That's a pattern. Joy turns toward Sunny. So you agree with him completely? Sunny pauses. I agree that impact matters. Joy scoffs softly. Impact over intent. Kumail replies quickly. Intent explains. It doesn't excuse. A loud wave of applause. Joy throws her hands up slightly. This is exhausting. Kumail nods. Exactly. That lands like a punch. The audience reacts loudly, applause mixed with stunned laughter. Whoopi lets the moment breathe. Okay, I want to ask something that might move us forward. Everyone turns to her. She looks at Kumail. Do you feel heard right now? Kumail thinks for a moment. More than before. Not fully. The audience murmurs in understanding. Whoopi turns to Joy. Do you feel attacked? Joy hesitates. I feel cornered. Kumail responds immediately, softer now. That's how this conversation usually feels for us. The audience quiets again. Joy looks at him, really looks for the first time without interruption. I didn't mean to corner you. Kumail nods. I believe that. But it happened. There's a long pause. No one rushes to fill it. Sunny breaks it gently. This is what live television does sometimes. It forces us to sit in discomfort. Joy exhales, shoulders dropping slightly. I don't like being uncomfortable on air. Kumail allows a small, tired smile. Neither do I. A soft wave of laughter moves through the audience. Whoopi glances at the clock. We're almost out of time. Joy straightens, the defensive edge returning just a little. I still think comedy should bring people together. Kumail responds calmly. It can, if everyone is allowed in the room. The audience applauds again, sustained. Whoopi looks into the camera briefly. When we come back, we'll wrap this up and talk about what this conversation actually means beyond this table. The applause swells, mixed with tension, as the camera pulls back. The sense clear that whatever resolution comes next won't be simple, but it will be watched closely. The applause fades slower this time, heavier, like the audience understands they're witnessing the end of something that won't neatly resolve itself. When the camera settles back in, the energy at the table is different again, not explosive, not calm, but reflective. The kind of quiet that comes after a hard truth lands. Whoopi takes a breath. All right, we're back for our final moments. Joy sits upright, hands folded, eyes forward. Kumail mirrors her posture, though there's a weariness in his face now, not anger, something closer to relief mixed with fatigue. Whoopi looks at Kumail first. Before we wrap this, I want to give you space. Is there anything you feel didn't get said? Kumail thinks for a moment. I think the biggest thing is this. I don't want special treatment. I want equal curiosity. The audience murmurs softly. Joy turns toward him. What does that look like? It looks like asking about craft before questioning legitimacy, Kumail says. It looks like trusting that a story exists because it resonated with someone, not because it's trying to prove something. Sunny nods. That's fair. Joy exhales. I can hear that. The audience reacts quietly, a few claps, more nods. Joy continues, slower now. I'm not always graceful with my words. I never have been. Kumail smiles faintly. Neither am I. A light ripple of laughter breaks the tension. Joy looks at him directly. I didn't intend to make you feel like you didn't belong. Kumail meets her gaze. I believe you. And I appreciate you saying that. The audience applauds, warmer now. Whoopi leans in. That's what accountability sounds like. Joy nods, then adds, I still think we should be able to talk about discomfort. Kumail agrees. As long as we're honest about who's uncomfortable and why. Sunny smiles. That's the conversation right there. The audience applauds again, sustained but no longer sharp. Whoopi glances at the audience. This is why live TV matters. You don't always land where you expect. Joy lets out a small laugh. Tell me about it. Kumail chuckles quietly. Same. The moment feels human now. Not resolved, but real. Whoopi looks into the camera. We're out of time. But clearly, this conversation doesn't end here. The applause rises as the camera pulls back. Joy and Kumail exchange a brief nod. Not friendship, not victory, just acknowledgement. After the show, the reaction is immediate. Within minutes, clips begin circulating online. Short segments, Kumail saying, my existence isn't politics. Joy calling the moment dramatic. The line about exhaustion, all chopped, captioned, debated. Hashtags start trending. Some praise Kumail for standing his ground. Others accuse him of being too confrontational. Joy's longtime supporters defend her right to question. Critics argue intent doesn't cancel impact. Entertainment reporters jump on it before noon. Headlines read, tense moment on morning TV, and unexpected clash sparks bigger conversation. Panel discussions replay the exchange, pausing frame by frame, analyzing tone, wording, body language. By evening, both camps have formed clearly. Kumail posts a short message online later that night. Not defensive. Not celebratory. Just a note about conversations being uncomfortable but necessary. It racks up hundreds of thousands of likes within hours. Joy addresses it the next day on air. She doesn't walk it back, but she doesn't dismiss it either. She says the conversation made her think. That she still believes in asking questions, but also in listening when answers come with emotion. Backstage, sources say the exchange was tense but respectful once the cameras stopped rolling. No shouting. No walkouts. Just two people acknowledging that something real happened on live television. Audience members who were there talk about it for days. Some say they felt seen. Others say they felt challenged. Most agree it didn't feel scripted, and that's why it mattered. And that's what lingers after the applause fades. Not who won, not who lost, but the fact that a polite interview turned into an honest reckoning, the kind that rarely survives daytime TV. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Was Kumail right to push back? Did Joy cross a line, or just ask the questions others are afraid to? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.